Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hello everyone, welcome to Hobby Quick Hits, episode 164. To be exact, today I'm going to talk about two shows I did, and what's a little bit different about these shows is I did them on back-to-back weekends, something I don't do too much anymore. The shows I'll be discussing is the October 15th Syracuse Fairgrounds, the State Fairgrounds of New York show. That is my basically home show. I call it, where I have my SGC table every time they have that, and my own, obviously, couple tables of my own cards to sell. And then I did the October 21st show on Saturday in Rochester at Gates Chili Middle School, and that's a first-time show by a first-time promoter who was just on the show recently, in Mr. Joseph Lynch. That was his show. That was Saturday. The Fairground show in Syracuse is on Sundays, and we'll talk about what I think about that here in a little bit when we get into the deep diving reviews of those two shows. And the older I get, I do less shows than I used to do, card shows wise, but starting to ramp up a little bit again. And I usually don't travel too much, but did Springfield earlier this year and now Rochester. So we'll talk all about those shows, how I did, what I saw, observations from behind the table, and that sort of thing, and kind of where the market's at least from my perspective. We're going to hear from our great sponsors, go over the new releases coming, and some hobby news, and then we'll review the two shows I just did. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Pat Hughes, Cubs announcer, coming to you from the Sports Card Shop in beautiful New Buffalo, Michigan. The Gocher family has built an incredible place here for collectors to buy, sell, and trade cards and memorabilia. Be sure to stop by and let them show you around. TheSportsCardShop.com, connecting sports, athletes, the hobby, and collectors around the world.
Hi. This is Alan Pinkett, and I'm here to tell you the Gocher family has done it again. They've just opened up the Sport Card Shop in downtown Valparaiso, Indiana, and it is awesome. If you're a collector, you need to check this place out. Tell them Alan sent you and get a free gift on your first visit.
Let's check out this week's Hobby Wax releases. Take it away, Owen.
Hey guys, going from the Sports Card Shop. Let's go over the week releases. On the 25th, we have 2023 Panini Origins WNBA Basketball, 2023-24 Prism Collegiate Draft Picks Basketball, 2023 Topps Tier 1 Baseball. And on the 27th, we have 2022-23 Topps Inceptions Overtime Elite Basketball, 2023 Star Hidden Treasures Football In-Season Mini Helmet. On the 1st, we have 2023 Topps Chrome McDonald's All-American Basketball, 2022-23 Upper Deck SP Authentic Hockey. And on the 3rd, we have 2023 Bowman Sterling Baseball. And then we have 2023 Panini National Treasures Collegiate Football, 2023-24 Panini Prism Collegiate Draft Picks Basketball Choice. And on last but not least, we have 2023 Wild Card Matte Football Premium Edition. See you guys later.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
All right, let's start with one of the bigger stories from the week. A one of one superfractor of Guardians prospect Juan Benjamin was pulled this week. Only one problem. It was the third 101 pulled. We talked about the multi-printed superfractor mistake Topps make. Here's a allegedly confirmed third 101 of the same player, in this case, Juan Benjamin. So not a good look for the Topps Fanatics crew. We'll see how this one continues to play out, if there are any more 3 of 1s out there. On the Panini front, it's almost fair, right? We mentioned Topps. We got to mention Panini. Better news for them. They signed Tim Duncan, Hall of Famer, world champion, San Antonio Spurs center forward, if you will. One of the top 50 greatest players in the NBA history. And signed him to a multi-year deal for autographs to appear in their products. And you say, well, that's great. Tim Duncan, Hall of Famer, it's cool. He is not a prolific signer and hasn't signed in years. So that's where this news gets even bigger. Want to own a part of Mickey Mantle's boyhood house he grew up in Commerce, Oklahoma, like me? That's right. I did buy 7. Yep, that's right. 7 shares of Mickey Mantle's boyhood home in Commerce, Oklahoma, at $7 a piece from On Rally as a fractionalized his house. It's cost me $49 to say I'm a very minority, a very, 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 very minority owner of Mickey Mantle's boyhood home. I'll be renting a corner room starting next month. Just kidding. But pretty cool that you can own a little bit of that house. It's probably going to turn into a museum, but they are going to let the shareholders vote. So I'm assuming as a shareholder now, I will have a say in what that house becomes moving forward. If it ever is sold, you could potentially make a profit. Obviously, that's not why I bought 7 shares of Mickey Mantle boyhood home. Just kind of cool, and had $49 apparently burning a hole in my pocket. The house is valued at $329,000, and it could be a museum. They haven't officially decided. That would probably be my vote, depending on the choices. Jeremy Murray, formerly of Beckett, is now employed. Lands very well at Pristine Auctions as COO, Chief Operating Officer. So congratulations to Jeremy on his new gig there. On the congratulation front, happy anniversary to our sponsor, Sports Collectors Digest. 50 years. I probably should say happy birthday, but they're in their 50th year. Think about that. Publications in the hobby that have been around 50 years. That's a very small list, and I think SCD, Sports Collectors Digest, tops it. Some news on the auction front as far as the auction platforms. ComC and eBay have announced a agreement where you can, through your ComC account, list on eBay. It's 50 cents a listing, much like their intake cost of 50 cents. There's some other fees and charges. You'll have to go to ComC and learn more about that. And eBay, English apparently is my second language all of a sudden. All right. eBay is revamping their listing policy, and now if you list a graded card, you got to say what graded company it is, put it in there, what grade it got, and so forth. That's easy. I think the trickier part is if it's a raw card, you have to actually self-grade your card from mint, near mint, excellent, very good, poor. You got to give it sort of your own grade to give it something to go on. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works. If someone says, hey, the seller said it was an 8, and I got what I perceive as a 6. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. But you can tell that's coming. So hopefully, we'll see how it plays out. I probably have to go fix a couple of my listings. I haven't checked as of yet. I sell some on eBay, but not a ton.
And now, our feature presentation.
Okay, let's talk about these shows in chronological order, starting with October 15th, Sunday. Collectors Fest, I believe 89. Could be wrong on my number, but at the New York State Fairgrounds in Syracuse, New York, 4.5 miles from my house to be exact. And it's my home show, if you will, and one I'm always at, unless there's no way I can attend, but most of the time that's not the case. And this is also a show that I have an SGC table for accepting submissions, as besides my two tables with my, showcases, cards, wax, all that stuff that I have. And I will say this before I get into the SGC, talking about how I did. It was probably, I did okay. I'll use just the okay. I was on a great run with this show of really doing very, very well. This show kind of was, I don't want to say, I don't like the term worse because it makes it sound like it was a bad show. It wasn't a bad show. I'm satisfied with how I did, but in relative to the last 3 or 4 shows I've done at this location, this was the least volume of sales in comparison to those. But 2 of those 4 shows, the last 4, were really, really, really good financial, bringing in sales show. So it set the bar high. So keep that in mind. Keep that in perspective when I say it was just okay. One of the things, and I talked to Lynn Lake, the promoter of the show, so I don't feel bad kind of being on the air talking about this, but Sundays is obviously you're competing with NFL football, and one thing I've noticed with this show is it runs till 3:30, I believe, 3 or 3:30, but about 1 o'clock the place really does start to peter out, and I found I've made most of my sales before that 1 o'clock hits. Even on those bigger sale days when I've done very, very well. And so I've even met, I had a conversation with him at the end of the show, like about maybe doing it on a Saturday. And, he mentioned it's college football day. Well, Syracuse is, while we have a college football team, it's not faring very well at the moment. And frankly, Syracuse is not a college football town. It's more of an NFL town. A lot of Bills fans here, Giants, Jets, even a lot of Steeler fans. And people leave to go watch football, whatever their team might be. And, 1 o'clock hits 1:30, and it really dissipates. It quiets down. There's still sales. I make sales after 1 o'clock, but 1 o'clock is kind of my witching hour. I know that when 1 o'clock hits, that's going to be the bulk of the sales, and hopefully I've done well up until that point. Again, one thing I know with this show, it wasn't as well attended as previous ones, but still well attended. I mean, this is a big show. I think it brings in about anywhere from 500 to 900 people walking through the doors. I don't know the final count, but I'm going to guess it's closer to that 500 mark than the 900 mark. And the market's in a different place. We all, you hear people say the hobby's dead. The hobby is not dead. The hobby is doing well. It's just not at that crescendo pace and phase that it was during the pandemic. And that's just the way it is. You don't have to like it, but there's nothing you can really do about it except adapt and survive and thrive, right? Make smart decisions. And I think people are doing that. I think that people are, thinking more before they just impulse buy a card or cards. I think there's more thought going on because, before, during that crescendo phase, right, it was like Midas touch, right? Everything turned to gold. Everything went up almost after you bought it. And though I think we're out of that phase, and now people are smartly thinking about their purchases. The other thing I'm finding is Syracuse is not as many, even though a lot of people are coming through the door, this is not one of those super regional shows where there's a lot of big cards being sold. When I say big cards, I'm talking about expensive cards, four figures and high four figures type stuff. And the thing is, I noticed with my kid, you want to, you only have so much showcase room, right? And you want to get all your stuff out as much as possible. You try to guess kind of what people might be looking for or what might be impressive to someone, who's the hot hand at the moment. You play that game as a dealer. And in looking, at my showcases at this show, I realized I put a lot of expensive stuff out. And while it's nice to own it and have it available to folks that are coming to a show, you got to know your market. And I don't mean this the way it might come out of my mouth, but I don't know if Syracuse is that market for some of those type of cards, that are high three figures or four figures. And, and looking at my cases, going back to that before I went off on a little tangent, looking at my cases, I realized there's a lot of expensive stuff in that. And then you sort of eliminate. Now I cater to all levels of hobby. So I have a dollar box. I have boxes that are designated by team. So if you're looking for Miami Marlins, you can go to that section and you'll find cards from 50 cents to $10 potentially in those boxes. Game used that are fairly inexpensive. I have a game used and autos blowout box that are nothing's over $5. So I have cheaper stuff, but in my showcases I noticed that I had not as much. It seemed to be too for that high tier, and then you only have so much room, and some people just don't look through monster boxes or shoe boxes. They just don't want to. They're trying to glaze over your inventory quick through the showcases, and they may not be the type of person or collector that will stop at a monster box or shoe box and sit there and look through stuff. And I get it. I'm not a big person who does that a lot of times. Typically, we'll look through a bargain box if I know, that person has a pretty good bargain box, but I'm generally kind of move along, but I'll stop and look at the whole showcase and see what's in there and that type of deal as a consumer. But some people are quicker than others. Some people glance quicker. And some people just don't want to sit in one place, maybe just out of sheer boredom or, time crunch and look through, a shoe box, a monster box, a bargain box. Well, some people will too. So it's hit or miss. And I'm just kind of to wrap up my thought here is at the end of the show, knowing what I did, which was okay, like I said, it wasn't terrible, wasn't great, somewhere in the middle. I just looked at kind of the stuff I put out and I'm like, I really didn't, the showcases itself didn't offer sort of different levels. It was sort of that upper level, a little more pricier. And I think that's on me. I'm going to, look inwardly here and say, I got to do a better job at mixing those cases up where I hit, lower level, lower price levels, mid-tier price levels. And yeah, sure, you want to show off some of that nice stuff as well. One thing I think I need to look into is, I have a lot of slabs. I mean, I can't even put out all my graded cards. I want to see about getting a stand-up showcase that will stand at the end of the table, take up one row of cards, but stand up and that holds slab cards. I have one now that holds top loaders, not slabs, but I'm assuming they've got to make one that holds graded cards, and that will free up a lot more showcase space for non-slab cards or other slab cards, and maybe I can get out a better variety of price levels. So I'm going to own this one myself, which I do. I can be very critical of myself. I'm going to own this one myself and say I have to do a better job at putting a wider variety of price level of cards out where they're visible. I'm not talking about those Monster and Shoe boxes where I have 50-cent cards, dollar cards, $2 cards, $5 cards, and so on and up. I got to think, even with the showcase stuff, I got to do a better job at different levels of selection. And that's on me. It's something I'm going to start by looking for that stand-up, slab case to, free up some room in the showcases. And, even in the showcases, when I put graded cards out, I tried to kind of fan them out where you can see the cards. And I can get more out, but one of those stand-up cases will help tremendously if I can get one of those. And if I get one, I'll probably replace the stand-up top loader case in place of that. Again, it's funny. I expected more people to come to my table to selling their wares. I did have a couple people ask if I was buying. I took a look. They had mostly modern stuff. I'm not opposed to modern stuff, even though I've really geared up towards heavy vintage. I did find a couple cards, but couldn't work a deal. They wanted a little bit too much for what I can turn around, price it for, and try to move it. So didn't buy anything as far as from people coming up to the table. The other thing I noticed, and I'm a bargainer. I will give people a deal. I hate to say it. Maybe I'm letting the cat. But if someone comes and says, "Hey, what can you do for these?" I can do better. I'm usually pretty reasonable on that front. But I had a few people that did that, and I gave them a lower price, and they said, I can't do that. And then I always try to ask, well, what do you want to pay? What can you do? And some of the responses that I got when I did ask that question were, pardon my French, they were kind of ridiculous for what the comps were and what the card was going for. And again, I know it's a different hobby than it was, 2 years ago. During the pandemic. I get it. Money's tighter. We don't have that surplus checks we were getting. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. I don't have to go into the details. So I get it. But, I also can't, give stuff away. And I'm getting offered prices where, to be fair, I would buy more of that card that they're offering me. And I have the card. I would probably buy another one for what they offered me for that one. And so I think it's sort of a sign of the times. I think the wheelhouse now, and my buddy Chad, I'll mention him, he sets up at the shows, and he really puts just $20 to $50 cards out in his showcases and is doing very well with that. I think he's on to something. And he's an inventus but I think he's got the right idea. I think that's the wheelhouse, at least for the Syracuse area. I'll say that. He's done very well with that sort of premise and price tier. And that's something I have to do a better job. So the Syracuse show was okay. It fell a little short of what the previous ones were at. Attendance was a little lower, and people were a little bit tighter with their wallets and purses, and I get that. And again, I have to do a better job at putting out selection that covers the masses. Let's quickly talk about the SGC table. I have a table at the Syracuse Fairground Show, every show for SGC. A lot of people picked up their submissions from the previous month at the show, which was very cool. Some brought more cards for the next sub, some didn't. This too was the lowest amount I've taken in for SGC, but still hit easily into triple digits of subs. And so Another order is being graded literally as we speak, and maybe even very in the process of being shipped back soon. SGC's maintained their quickest turnaround time in the industry right now, and but I'm seeing. I will say this: a lot of people have told me, like, "Hey, I wouldn't have considered SGC before, but I've had some bad stuff with PSA. SGC lowered their prices to $15, and I'm giving them a try for the first time." So I had a lot of first-time submitters. So to kind of wrap up the Syracuse show review, if you will, it was between the SGC and my two tables, it was good. Not very good, not great, but good. And quite frankly, having the SGC sort of is a difference maker sometimes when my two tables might not be as busy as previous shows. Sort of offsets that. And I think in this case, that's exactly what happened. I'm not complaining. Matter of fact, the opposite. I'm very, very fortunate that I'm allowed to do so. So our next show in Syracuse will be December, I believe, 3rd. It's the mega show. It is a big show, and it's a traditional, very good show. And it's a show where I'm probably going to employ sort of that new approach with what I put out. I'll kind of start it with that December 3rd show. All right, let's talk about the Sports Card Spectacular in Rochester, New York, an hour and a half drive from my house. Had to get up, I do something I don't normally do. I packed the car just before I went to bed, locked it up, have cameras all over the place, because I wanted to wake up, shower, and hit the road early. It's an hour and a half drive from my house, not that 4.5 miles that I'm spoiled with my local Syracuse show. And then you got to set it all up. And so prepared for a long day and, wanted to just shower, jump in the car, grab some coffee, a bite to eat, and then head to Rochester. And that's Joe Lynch's first show. He had 4 signers there. He had Larry Johnson, remember Grandmama, Yankees legend, if you will, Jim Leyritz, the wrestler Kalisto, and former Bills linebacker with the tandem with Bruce Smith was Darryl Taylor. So those 4 guys, Darryl Taylor, Larry Johnson, Kalisto, and Jim Leyritz. They were in the other room on a stage. Well, in that room, they had some food available for sale for vendors and people attending the show. And was set up real well in Gates Chili Middle School. The other room was our room where we were set up, and I had 2 tables, thanks to Joe, and probably about between, I'd say, 40 and 50 tables total, maybe between 40 and 60 tables total for the whole show, and well set up, had plenty of room to bring stuff in, put my, empty bags and stuff kind of in the corner where I was set up. Just well kind of floor planned out. And again, first time show here. So went in open-minded, not knowing what to expect. Anytime you do something for the first time, there's a degree of difficulty there. I don't care how experienced you are or how how many times, you think you've crossed every T or dotted every I. But I will say this: now that the event is over, had a very good day. It was actually well attended. I do not have the attendance count, but there was people there most of the day. I think Saturdays is a better show day than Sundays. Lynn, are you listening? And made some dealer sales even before open to the general public. That's always nice. And then the doors open, and it was, I would use the word steady, and that's always good. There wasn't really, maybe a lull to 2 o'clock, but sold a little bit of everything from every part, from my boxes to my showcases, sold a little bit of my wax boxes, so it was across the board. It was cool seeing some people from Syracuse that attended this show, and it was cool seeing some Rochester people who look familiar who traveled to the Syracuse show. So there were some Syracuse people there. There were some locals there that travel that I see here at the Syracuse shows. So I had a lot of great conversations and meeting new people and a lot of kids. And you know what I feel about kids in the hobby? Very, very ecstatic. That I saw a lot of kids, transacting, trading, dealing. Did look at some cards. Didn't wind up. I made a trade with a young man. I want to give him a shout out because he was a great kid. He actually bought some stuff from me. That's not why I'm giving him the shout out. But very active, going from table to table, wheeling and dealing and learning. And he asked me a couple questions, and I tried to help him out as much as possible. I told him I'd give him a shout out on this podcast. So Noah, if you're listening, man, keep collecting, have fun, big Carolina Panthers fan he is. So picked up some Panthers from me. We also made a trade involving some Panthers cards. A Miles Sanders auto, DJ Moore. I think there's a McCaffrey in there, and traded for a Trevor Lawrence card I could use, and made the trade fair. Even there was some cash involved, and I told him to keep it and use it, to buy some more cards that he enjoyed. And again, love seeing young people participate and enjoy the hobby, and Noah is doing exactly that. And I really appreciated talking to him, helping him out, answering some questions that he had for me. So again, Noah, if you're listening to the show, you can always reach out. I'd be glad to help you, even not at the show if need be. But keep doing what you're doing. You're a good kid. Again, it was nice seeing a lot of kids there. A lot of families, parents, and the building is very modernized. They have a big performing arts center that was behind the middle school that looked like a professional concert venue, which was very cool. I didn't see the inside, but the outside was impressive. And hour and a half drive, not too bad. That's doable. And just had a fun day. You've heard me talk about before with the show, it takes me a long time to pack up because everything's in alphabetical order. I've actually tweaked a few things that allows me to pack up much sooner. So show ended at 4, and probably by 4:25, I had the car loaded and I was done. That is impressive for me. Usually takes me a lot longer than that. So kudos to Joe Lynch, a great show, seemed well attended. The autograph guests, from everything I heard, were very personable, and I saw that firsthand on two fronts. So about 3:30, show runs to 4. About 3:30, I see Daryl Taylor, former Bills linebacker, and Larry Johnson, former number 1 NBA pick. They're walking around the show, talking to people, looking at showcases. Daryl Taylor came to my table, saw a Floyd Little card I had in the showcase, and said, "Hey, Floyd Little," and we chatted about how I knew Floyd, and he used to come to my high school football team's practices and talk to the team, and I got to chat with him. He thought that was very cool. Then Larry Johnson came around, asked him a couple basketball questions, asked him if he was still plays any pickup or recreational basketball. He said, "Nah, man, I'm done." And we talked a little bit about some other stuff, and asked, "Hey, can I take a photo with you?" Which he was very gracious and said, "Yeah, man, let's go." And took a photo, which I posted on the show's social media. And these guys walked the room after, when they hit the floor, probably 30 minutes. They were talking with kids, taking pictures, talking with fans, talking, about sports. I know Larry Johnson said, the best player he played with. Someone asked him the best player he played with. He said Jordan. But he goes, I know that's kind of the chalk answer, but, besides all the great, how great he was offensively, he said it was how great he was on the defensive side that people don't talk about not much. He joked with Shaq that one of the best shot blockers he's ever seen, but not great necessarily defensively overall. Got a couple laughs there. And then someone asked him also, best current player in the league, in his opinion. He said Giannis there. So really great event. Well done. If I didn't tell you it was the first time that Joe Lynch put on the show, you would have never known. It was very classy, very professional, fun, set up well. I don't know what precipitated Tally and LJ coming onto the show floor, but very cool moment there as well, and just very down to earth guys. Talk with people, pose for pictures, like I said, very approachable. Was very, very cool. I really had a great day. Not just selling, but just overall vibe, feeling. And if that's any indication of how future events will go, Joe's going to do very well, and I'm happy for him. He's a community guy who cares, and I think that showed. In everything at the show on Saturday, and so I was happy to be a small part of it, and wish him continued success. And we'll probably hear from him again, because he's the kind of guy I will try to help in any way I can. So again, a great Saturday at Gates Chile Middle School. Great event, well done. First time out of the gate, and should be, very impressive. So got more shows coming up. It's kind of my show busy season. My next one will be November 11th, a first time show for me in Watertown, New York, which is about an hour north of Syracuse. Fort Drum, the military base, is there, and I guess they're very active collecting wise, and so it's a small show that has some early success. So I will be setting up there November 11th. The promoter has also asked me to do my SGC bulk subbing, so we'll see how that goes for the first time in that location. I do pretty well with it here in Syracuse, but now taking that on the road to Watertown, about 65 miles north of me, about an hour's drive, doing it, setting up with my friend Chad there, so he can also give me a hand there. So I'm sure I'll be talking about that here in a few weeks' time or a month's time, and see how that goes. And looking to sort of travel, Syracuse is my home show, but looking to do some other shows, especially on Saturdays. I think Saturdays, honestly, the best show day. Sundays, you're competing with the NFL, people kind of winding down, getting ready to go back to work, make sure everything's buttoned up at home and that sort of thing. I think Saturday is the best day. And then you still got, as a dealer, you still got Sunday to chillax, relax, same thing, get ready for the work week and unwind and that sort of thing. So that's going to be today's episode. Again, thank you out there for listening, and we'll see you soon. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Want to give out our social media, starting with our website, which is www.sportscardnationpodcast.com. Facebook, you can follow us at www.facebook.com/sportscardnationpodcast/. Twitter, we are at SportsCardNati1, so it's SportsCard NATI1. Instagram at SportsCardNationPodcast, or you can email the show hobbyquickhits@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.